Hello and welcome for this monthly release of Xen Orchestra. This time it's the 5.105, the March release. And believe me, this one is really big, probably the biggest of the last 12 months or even 24 months. So it means something. And it's all about obviously Xen Orchestra, but also many announcements that we dropped on this month of March. So hang on and let's start to talk about the project and community to know what's happening in the broader ecosystem around Xen Orchestra with Vates, Xen Project, and so on. So starting with great news about a new Xen community manager who started to join officially the project last week. So it's Cody. Cody was started the position as an evangelist, but now step up as a community manager. Cody has a great experience about managing community and communicating about projects and open source projects. So we're really proud to have him on board. The funny thing about it is Cody is living like just 1 hour drive from our offices, so it's really convenient for us to have the Xen community manager as our neighbor, and we have a lot of plans to continue on our side to invest into the Xen project, and having someone great like Cody helping us to make the bridge between Vates and the Xen project is really great. So he posted on the Xen project blog about who he is and what he had in mind for the Xen project. So feel free to read the blog post for more details. Talking about Cody, he was also as Xen evangelist and now community manager, our guests in our recent blog post on XCPNG blog, talking about Xen on Ampere CPUs. So that might sound familiar because we already discussed about it. We have a partnership with Ampere. They gave us some machines to work on it, to start to work to not just get in Xen, but the entire XCPNG running on it. If you want to learn more details about that, feel free to read the blog post for more details. There's so many announcements. I would go, deep into each, news, but still very interesting article summing up what's going on with Xen and ARM and potentially XCP and ARM. So exciting news. And on our side, we hope that we get, other exciting news related to that platform in the next months, or at least this year. Let's keep into the Xen project as Xen 4.20 that is released. We're pretty proud about this release because our contribution as Vates into the upstream Xen are growing more and more. As a reminder, for the last two releases, Alexi, working at Vates, is the release manager for Xen. So there is, new improvements, and it might be the base engine for the next major version of XCP, XCP 9. So if you want to learn more about what's going on inside the Xen project for the latest release and maybe what's going on after it, take a look at it. It's very interesting, a bit technical, but again, you will learn many things about this great project that is powering XCP Engine, the Vates stack. Talking about the rest of the stack, now we are moving, up in the layers, talking about the virtualization platform, XCPNG. This is very important news. That's a great opportunity to told you about it today and right here. The current LTS version 8.2 is coming to an end in terms of support on June this year. Obviously, we want to have a smooth transition between 8.2 and 8.3 that will become LTS. We have some overlap, having two LTSs at the same time to give you few months, 3 months exactly, to make the upgrades between 8.2 and 8.3. In the blog post, you have all the details about what's the target to get that LTS on 8.3 with some components supported like XOSTOR and other improvements that are really interesting. So take a look at it. Let's start to think about preparing the migration. We made everything to make it smooth as possible. All the mechanism we have when you upgrade in place, keeping all your configuration, Also being able to roll back if you have any issue, and obviously our community is happy to help. And if you have professional support, clearly we are here to assist in your migration if you need. If you have any problem or question, feel free to reach to us. We'll be happy to help you on that. The reminder that LTS on 8.3 is the end of the line for the 8.x version. The next one will be far more, I would say, different, but will based on a new platform with many exciting features. The version 9. So stability first, 8.3 LTS for a while we will work on getting new feature on the 9.0 as soon as we got the 8.3 LTS released in the next coming months. Um, Talking about updates, obviously there is our almost monthly. I think we could say that since the last 12 months, it is a monthly pace for the XCP updates, mostly security updates or maintenance updates. So there's two blog posts about each one on 8.2, what's new, what's the updates, security updates, and so on, and the same for 8.3. So if you want to go deeper about what are those updates, what's inside, what are the changes, how to update, and so on, feel free to read those blog posts for more details. Okay, so let's continue to move, further in the stack. This one is a blog post I wrote personally on my, personal blog, and I think this one is important, especially now with all the Broadcom story and so on. It's a kind of uh, a post in defense on using diversity for your IT. And without entering all the details, we've seen that the monoculture in IT is a real problem for security, safety, and even like financial risks. Even if on the short term it seems to be cheaper to run everything with the same vendor, in the end it's dangerous. Like it is dangerous in real life, in nature. So keep an eye on it. It's not too long, but I think most of our viewers and readers here will be uh, let's say happy to discover that they are not the only one having this opinion. But to me, it was important to take time to write about it. So enjoy the read. It's not too long, and I think you will find it resonating, especially if you are using VMware right now. Um, let's talk about another personal blog post, this time from someone working at Vates in the XCPNG team. It's a great example on how to leverage, all the ecosystem and providers we are building with DevOps tools around, the Vates stack on top of Xen Orchestra. So this is a blog post on how to use Coder, a tool that helps you to, set up a coding space very easily with automation and using like Terraform and different providers and so on. So if you're a developer and you are using XCP and Xen Orchestra, take a look at this. It will help you to set up everything pretty automated fashion, so you're ready to develop whatever you need to develop, like system developer or web developer. This is really interesting tooling, and with a real example on how he made his setup. So take a look if you're a dev. That will be probably interesting for you. Let's talk a bit about Vates now as a company, just to let you know that we joined the Eclipse Foundation. So sure, we are part of the Xen projects. We are inside the Xen board within the Linux Foundation, but we decided to also join the Eclipse Foundation to be part of a special group about the cloud technologies. We decided to do that because that was a way to be also present in a place we weren't previously. So still in the open source world, it's not like we are choosing a different foundation. We are adding let's say a foot in another foundation to be sure that we are let's say we have a visibility on the open source, the tooling around the open source cloud. And the Eclipse Foundation is really like driving things forward about all the tool and the open source ecosystem regarding the cloud. So we're happy to announce we joined them, and we're part of the Eclipse Foundation, especially this working group, so we could demonstrate that our technologies are interesting and open source among this foundation. On a more let's say I wouldn't say commercial aspect, but still a bit. To me, it's a great demonstration about the strength of the Zen project as the core engine of XCP and Xen Orchestra. Is obviously with all the geopolitical stuff happening right now. There is, at least I can tell you, in Europe some concerns, and so we've seen that at least the defense or sensitive industries or governments starting to seek alternative to like VMware, obviously. And the great example we have about this is the Italian Cyber Command, which is a big institution, and as you can see, very sensitive about all the data from Navy, Air Force, Army, Navy, and so on. So they started to migrate their very, let's say, sensitive or high security data centers from VMware to our stack, which is a great honor, obviously. And it tells that, as you can imagine, the benchmark, our solution to be sure that it complies with their security levels and so on. And that's where, to be fair, Zen is shining as being a very secure virtualization solution, where isolation is great because it's a type 1 hypervisor and so on. And we are really, serious about security in general in the entire stack. And to me, that's a demonstration to tell that it's not just words, it's like real entities, and especially entities like this, decided to make the migration mean something about our stack. So that's why we're proud about this project. And there's obviously many other projects. We cannot talk about all of them, but that's a great example telling you how serious and secure we are with our platform. So phew, that's it for everything related outside the release of Xen Orchestra. So as you can see, March was really packed with many exciting announcements regarding the solution. Let's talk now about the release itself, about Xen Orchestra. So first, talking about the backup. So no major big release visible, as if you stay on stable latest. However, as you're aware, we continue to work on the famous post 2 terabyte limitation we had in the past. This also means that we needed to rework a lot of parts of the backup code because we were using VHD format everywhere, and now we'll have to use QCO2 format. And while we're there, it could also be useful to modify this code to handle like VMware format, to be sure that we could transfer everything from VHD, QCO2, and VMware format to have a kind of like a generic way to work with that. So we built those features one after the another, and now we reach a point where we wanted to do it uh, correctly, I would say, by knowing the entire perimeter of what we do. So it's also changed in details from node streams to node generators, and many other exciting features. So we have a branch, with this fresh code. Obviously, it won't enter production until we're sure about it, and that's why we need you to test it. If you are using the sources, you can switch to the branch feed generator backups and try to, run the backups as usual and see if you have any problems. We created a dedicated thread on the forums. So if you, have any problems or report bugs or whatnot, that will help to make that code reach production sooner than later because we'll have more feedback. And this code is really exciting, and this is the code that will help to back up very large drives because it is compatible with QCO2. So again, thanks for the community for being there, and I know that there's many people that like to test it. So go ahead, happy to read and to improve whatever you found that is not working. Staying in the backup area, we have improved the replication job, that allowing you to replicate a VM from whatever data center to another one, or from a pool to another one. There, we had some edge cases still that we always discover with time, despite the feature is very stable. We still found edge cases. So in that case, it was when you started to play with removing, adding disks, and so on. Sometimes in some conditions it could fail, so we make sure it's more robust right now. So whatever happens regarding the original VM, now the replication will work. We also had an unpleasant experience with S3 backups in Xen Orchestra. We are basing in the S3 backup capability on the AWS SDK. and that's why we support officially S3 from AWS using their own SDK. But as you know, S3 became a standard. And so many other providers, let's call them third party providers, are using the same protocol to store the files. And in general, it means you can just run the AWS SDK and run it and being compatible with everyone. But in reality, it's a bit different. AWS is, for example, adding, I don't know, new headers, new capabilities by default in the SDK. So when you update the SDK, sometimes those providers that are not AWS will have issues with those new headers. That's exactly what happened recently. So it broke the BackBlaze compatibility and some other providers, but not all of them. Some are ignoring the headers, some are not. So it's a kind of a mess, and that's why we focus on supporting, the main one for now. Backblaze addressed the issue in their own documentation, and we have to say thank you to Jonas, who reported the issue. And more than reporting the issue like it doesn't work, he found exactly what was the issue. And thanks to that, it's like doing half of the work. Even more than this, the fix was really trivial on our side, not using the some new headers and so on. So another great example on the how the community is really helping with us with giving feedback, telling us when we have a problem, report bugs, and so on, and even help to understand exactly what's going on with the bugs. So this is really really capital for us to have this kind of community, which is really great because it makes us a lot more efficient. So again, kudos to Jonas. But again, it's like every one of you is really having an important part of the community. That's it for backup. So now let's switch to core UI. So as you know, core UI is the same components or the same, design system for both XO Lite and XO6. We are adding more new components to be able to enrich the UI, a better pagination mechanism, better progress bar, and so on. We also have now a new release every month with XO Lite. It's kind of using the same pace that you have with the main Xen Orchestra. XO Lite is synced with the release of Xen Orchestra, so this is a lot easier to have a pace for XO Lite. This month we have really exciting stuff because now in XO Lite you can create VMs. So you don't have all the advanced options you had in XO5, but still you can now create a VM from scratch on XO Lite. So to me, that's a very exciting milestone because that was the most requested feature to be able to be done on XO Lite. It is there, and it is pretty nice, and we are really happy about it. It's, as I said, not as complex with all the advanced options, but this means you can already, without even deploying Xen Orchestra right now, create a basic VM and play with your lab without installing anything on top of it. So that's really cool, and this will be embedded in an update in XCPNG. But remember, if your 8.3 is up to date, by default, if you have internet access, as soon as you load XO Lite, it will be fetched with the new version that we have, let's say, on the cloud, on light.xenorchestra.com. So if you have an internet access, then just open XO Lite and you have the last version, which is online. If you are offline, you have to wait for the update in the RPM package. That will be done in the next weeks for April, like monthly releases that we do for security and maintenance for XCP. That's not it. VM creation is a big milestone for XO Lite, but we also added network view for VMs right in XO Lite. So if you go to the network tab, which is working right now, you can see exactly the VIFs, so the virtual interfaces, with a side panel giving you all the examples you want with all the detail IP addresses that you can copy paste easily, the MTU, and so on and so on. So XO Lite start to be more and more complete, and you can expect to have an even better pace in the future, as we've said in the past, especially me. It took time to make, of the scene and visible changes to have all the components and so on and so on. But now the building bricks are here and we start to assemble them. So, and also I have to admit that the XO Lite and XO6 front-end team is growing very fast. So people that joined us like a few months ago are ramping up, and it means that it goes faster and faster, which is excellent. There's also other views like for host and so on. So let's switch to XO6. So XO6, as a reminder, you can access already right now in your Xen Orchestra by typing /v6 at the end of the URL for Xen Orchestra, and you will have new stuff. Obviously, you will have the network view for the pool, where you have a recap on all the interfaces you have for the pool with the side panel, doing a recap on the all the physical interfaces, the PIFs, the MTU, VLANs, and so on. So it's really convenient, a new view for the pool, and also for the hosts. Which is great. This means that even the host with the PIFs will be displayed with the IP address, with the side panel, giving you all the details you need to manage really easily in XO6. So again, XO6 is not now just the dashboard or the tree view. You have more and more information, which is great to demonstrate that at some point this year, by default, you will land on the V6 view, and if you have missing feature, you will have to type V5. So I don't know when exactly, probably end of the year, but we're confident that this year, the year of XO6 being the default interface. So you also have, which is not displayed here, and I mean, we're recording this video a few days before the official release, so we are not sure yet. But if everything is going all right, we'll have VM creation also for XO6, as we are doing it in parallel with XO Lite, but it's a bit different because it's not using the same API. XO Lite is using Zappy directly, the API of XCP, while on Xen Orchestra we're using the XO REST API itself. Anyway, it's in the pipes. It might be there for the release, so meaning you could also create VMs now on XO6. It's, I think, also a really important milestone, meaning that XO6 will be more and more usable until we reach, as I said, the default to switch the default view to this new interface. Another really cool thing is the host dashboard. So now if you go to a host and you click on a host in the tree view, by default, you will have a dashboard for that host, giving you the CPU usage, stats, memory, network throughput, light average, CPU provisioning, RAM usage, VM status, and so on, the IP address, the model of the machine, and many things. So as you can see, there's more and more tabs that are now working. You have VMs, network, and dashboard, console. We still have system stats, alarms, storage, and tasks that will come in the next release. So it is more and more complete, and we are still aligned with our target to make it. And obviously the dark version that everyone loves, and that is really like on the colors of the entire brand now we have for XCPs and Orchestra and Vates. I really love that dark version that is automatically using the settings of your browser if you prefer dark or light, and this is something you can change in your user zone if you prefer to use a light versus dark or vice versa. That's it for the XO6 and XO Lite parts. Let's talk about XOSTOR. So this is a hyperconverged solution that is done in partnership with Linbit. And XOSTOR is now compatible with the rolling pull update. So it wasn't before, because it's a bit subtle when you update your nodes running XOSTOR, because XOSTOR need to be updated a bit before the packages of the rest of XCP-ng. So to restart the services and so on. So this needed some work to be done, a bit of an XO side, but most of the work was done on XCP-ng side to have a plugin that allows us to restart the LinStore satellites and controller before doing the package update. So that's why it took us some time to make the RPU mechanism compatible with XOSTOR, but we're really happy that it is now the case. So even if you're using XOSTOR, you don't have to make manual updates. This is just another progress or milestone to make RPU and XOSTOR more integrated with all the tools we have in XCP-ng and Xen Orchestra to manage it without any pain. So really happy about that, and this is a great demonstration on how cool and great to have a team inside the same company working both for the virtualization platform and the UI, because they can work together to solve those problems. So this is really nice. Okay, let's switch to the REST API stuff with many things happening. We've heard you that you really love the new API. You want something that is, let's say, easier to use than the original API, to that being frankly not designed for what you wanted to do with it. So the REST API is moving fast. We announced last month that we started to make it compatible with open API standards, meaning we could have a Swagger. Swagger is like an embedded documentation about the REST API bundled, baked in right of Xen Orchestra. So meaning that if you go to the URL directly in Xen Orchestra to show the doc, you will have everything. So we migrating more and more objects that we already had in the REST API, but making them into the open API standards, meaning we have to get types. So there's a huge amount of work. So kudos for the XO team to make that work, because it's not trivial. It takes a lot of efforts, but it's done. So to give you an example on why it's great, because now you can browse directly with the URL of your Xen Orchestra with the doc, URL, get details on what's going on for which endpoint. So, for example, you want to act some documentation on how to start a VM. So you know that you need the ID of it. You need, how to execute this action, if it's done async or sync, if there is authentication required, if there is any errors. So this gives you, all the details to build whatever you want to build on top of, Xen Orchestra. So that's really, really nice. That's the great perk of using Swagger. This gives you example, return. So it's a lot easier if you build whatever on top of the REST API to directly have baked in the dynamic documentation. It's dynamic by, if we add a name point into it, it will be displayed when it's updated in your Xen Orchestra directly. So, on our side, it's also great because we don't have to keep the documentation up to date with the new features. It's automatically generated because we use the Open API format, and then Swagger can generate those documentation. So that's really cool, and we are added many endpoints into it. So we know that you expected that a lot, and we are happy to do it. Okay, moving on. This time on the DevOps tools. So as a reminder, we created a dedicated DevOps tools team inside Xen Orchestra a few months ago, and we are really excited about it because now we just don't have to count only on the community or people we could sponsor sometimes to help us to make things. Now we have a team in-house dedicated to improve all the tooling around the Xen Orchestra API. So first, concrete example of that is we released the first provider, the Pulumi provider for Xen Orchestra, and it's live on the Pulumi registry alongside very popular, providers. So we're proud about that. It's a great achievement. So if you want to use Pulumi, then you can, and it's officially supported by Xen Orchestra and by the DevOps Tools team, by Vates, and it's also kept up to date directly on the provider on the Pulumi registry. Also, our many new VMware VMware users or people transitioning to VMware to our stack were asking for a PowerShell module. So we'll listen to you guys, and we made it. We made a first PowerShell module allowing you to discuss directly with the REST API of Xen Orchestra. So you can use commandlets to manage your VMs, VDI, snapshot servers, and so on. It's a first version, so it's not perfect, but it is there, and it means that we can already get, for example, XO VDI using the OID, and you will have all the details with the VDI side, VDI UID, export VDI, get a snapshot, and so on. So it's not 100% of all the features, but it's already pretty decent for a first release, and we know how impatient you were to get something like this. So we're happy about it. To be fair, we are not a Microsoft shop, but we know and we see the value of getting that because many of you are used to rely on PowerShell, which is very a powerful thing, a powerful tool. So it is there. It will be officially maintained. There's a repo that is online on the Vates organization on GitHub. So if you want to contribute or add more stuff, feel free to contribute. That's fully open source, and we are committed to make it, evolves about whatever you need and so on. So pretty new for us, and we're happy about this because we knew it was really awaited. We continue with the DevOps. As you can see, things are moving forward pretty fast right now with the DevOps team. We updated the Terraform provider. we made significant improvement. It took a lot of time because now we are based on the new Xen Orchestra Go SDK. So basically, we extracted the original Terraform provider code that was made by Dom, who was sponsored to do it, and we made a Go SDK with it, meaning that if you are using Go and you want to interact with the API, you can use that SDK. But for Terraform, it's very convenient because we extracted this, we made it a dedicated SDK that is imported as a library with the Terraform provider, and that we will be able to use that for Packer or for other projects that are using Go. By the way, we're working on a Go SDK v2 that instead of the, let's say, legacy API will be based on the REST API, but more on this on the next release in April. Just spoiled it a bit. Let's talk about V2V. The tool helping you to migrate from VMware to our stack. We improve the import management to be compatible with older VMware versions because there's a lot of you that are not on the latest ones, and this means we could, handle better. I wouldn't say edge cases, but some cases where disk size not correctly aligned during the import process. This is now, more robust, and meaning that for again older ESXi setups, the import has more success chances. I think we could tell now, when we started the V2V tool, it was like 20% success, and after 2 or 3 years, now we're close to, let's say, 80 to 90% success regardless of the setup, which is really, really huge because there's so many different setups that having a tool making, success out of the box with most of them is really something, really an achievement. So we're proud about it. It works pretty well. So if, again, still using VMware, you can try it. It works pretty well now. A quick talk about Airgap features. So as a reminder, Airgap means when you do not have an internet access from your installation, XCPNG now could be fully used offline with, package that we could provide to you in fully, like on a USB key or whatever you need. We are also working to get that for XOA updates, having a script. Let's say you give a tarball and you run the script, and it will make the updates without having the need to be connected online. That's the first milestone. That's the first step. The future will be management of your subscription fully offline with a license file. We could say a license file. It's not a license, but you see the point. This is coming this year. But for now, you do not need to re-import a fresh Xen Orchestra to get the updates. Now with a script, you can test it. So if you're already using Airgap and you want to test that, feel free to contact us. We could provide you, the script to do it. It will be announced as production ready in the next weeks or during the next release, because for now, the first tests are pretty conclusive. It works pretty well. It's rather simple. So another step forward to be fully air-gapped in the future. And if you have question why being air-gapped, this is, I would say, not specific, but widely used in sensitive installations where you really want to make your compute storage and network in an environment that cannot be accessed from the outside. So you limit a lot the risk of security problems, but that's just one way to do it. But it's very widely used, let's say, in the defense or even some cases where it's not just for security, but if you run on a boat, sometimes you do not have an internet access, or an oil rig is a good example where you don't have especially a regular or even never have any internet access for it, but you still need local, compute power. So that's why Airgap is an important piece for Vates, and that's why we're investing into it. Let's switch to the final section. I know it's a pretty big release, but despite everything happened before, we'll still manage to get new feature in the existing UI and quality of life features in the existing UI. So let's start about the health view. Now we added, by popular request, a view displaying that old snapshots. So what we call old snapshots is snapshots that are made after 30 days. So in general, if it's the case, it's not normal and you could, remove them. And obviously, if it's due to a backup with a retention that makes it more than 30 days, it won't be displayed there. It's smart, and it's only targeting snapshot that shouldn't be there after 30 days. So if it's the case because maybe you made a manual snapshot, 2 months ago before doing an update on a VM, and then you forgot about it, this view will recap all of them, and you can make some cleaning, especially that's the right time to do it. And now you have, the view to make that in a simple way in the health dashboard view. Another ask feature is an improvement for the The self-service is the ability to, if you're a self-service user, so as a reminder, the self-service is giving a quota of CPUs, memory, and so on to your developer team or your customer, whatever. They could create VMs, but for now they couldn't attach any disk they created manually in the self-service. So now it's possible. So even if they share disk with other people, member of the group, with permission of the self-service, they could add disks if they want. So more liberty, for your dev or customers to play with disk if they want. It's still within the disk they created themselves inside the quota you decided. So it's safe, it's the sandbox, but still they have, they can do more stuff now without bothering you to ask to create disks and so on. Nested virtualization. So as you remind, in 8.2, nested virtualization kindish worked. So not the entire nested virtualization thing, but basic one worked. And sadly, in 8.3, it was broken entirely. Nothing worked. So we fixed it. But the way it was exposed changed a bit. So we made it now in Xen Orchestra. So it's just a checkbox to enable again nested virtualization, and it would work the same way than it worked with 8.2. So it's not better. It's just if you use the bits of nested, it will work again. If you need advanced features, this is still broken, but this is an upstream problem with the Xen project. This is a huge amount of work. We are committed to help on that, but it's not trivial to fix everything right now because, as usual, in the Xen project, we want to do things the right way. Because if you don't do that the right way, nested is a trap in terms of security problems and bugs and things like this. So if you want to take security seriously, like we do, and stability, this is a huge amount of work. However, we're committed to do it at some point. Oh, Netbox. As you remember, we have a Netbox plugin helping you to synchronize all the IP address, VMs, and so on to your Netbox server. Um, as usual, since the last 2 or 3 years, Netbox is doing a lot of updates on a very accelerated pace, and sometimes they are breaking stuff. So I would say we cannot keep up on our side, but we have ourselves. We use Netbox, and we are not proud of that. But we cannot keep up with all the updates ourselves. But some users in the community and customers are reporting us sometimes that it is broken and it's due to new features or new updates and so on, or a broken API or whatever. So our goal is to be able to keep up in Xen Orchestra as soon as we are aware about a problem of compatibility. Frankly, I hope they will continue to update, but by being more stable, because every time it's a lot of work to keep the compatibility. However, this plugin is really cool. So, and we are using it, and many people are using it. So, we'll continue to maintain it and make sure it works. So, you can count on us for this. We fixed a very annoying thing regarding the perf alert plugin, being a lot smarter now when anything is going on, avoiding repetition of problems. So it's both a bug fix because we thought it was done that way, but also an improvement on the logic in many corner cases, where now we'll be sure not to send you too many notifications regardless what's happening, by more analyzing the change on what's going on than just sending you when something happens. So pretty cool, and it's a reaction with customer having an unpleasant surprise in terms of emails, because many things got wrong and kind of flapping happened, and it wasn't smart enough to not flooding the customer with many reports. Now it's fixed. Another popular feature is when you create a VM, sometimes during the VM creation, you want to assign the right permission to it and not, create the VM and then go in the ACL, select the right object, assign the permission, and so on. So now it's baked in the VM creation and on XO5, you can assign directly the right group with the right permission on some VM. So for you, the administrator, it's a big shortcut, reducing the amount of clicks by like almost an order of magnitude. It was asked since a while, so we did it. It's sure a quality of life, but a big quality of life change for people relying heavily on ACLs and permissions. So kudos to the team to being able to do it. It's really more efficient to deal with ACLs right now, thanks to that feature. And finally, the last part of this huge mega release that we have in this month is improved translation for XO Lite and XO6. So we took some time, as we announced last month, to get a software called WebLite to run on-prem on our own infrastructure, running XCP and Xen Orchestra, as you can imagine, to install WebLite, which is helping people to translate a software, in our case, our software, Xen Orchestra and XO Lite, in a very simple fashion. So basically, when you go on the website, translate.vates.tech, you can add a new language, you could add the strings that needs to be translated, and you click validate, and automatically this will create a pull request on our side. So all, the complicated, stuff to create the PR, to be reviewed, and so on and so on. Basically, before you had to fork Xen Orchestra to modify a JSON file, to add a language file, to be sure that you are not doing any typo in the JSON file, like forgetting a quote and so on, then to be reviewed and to create the PR and so on. So that was very complex for anyone to contribute without any technical background. So WebLite is doing all of that for us, like doing all the glue. So if you want to participate, it's really easy. And we communicated about that just a few weeks ago, that now it's live and you can do it. And we had a huge number of contribution, like many improvement with Swedish, Spanish, Czech, Persian, German, new languages, Russian, Ukrainian. And so we've seen the difference, obviously, as it's a lot easier to contribute. So even if you are not a technical person, now you can translate it in the language you want. And those translations are used both for XO6 and XO Lite. So that's why, I'm really excited about this, because this means when XO6 will be the default view, then we'll already have translated in whatever language that you can think about. So that's really, really cool. And you'll even have, a status on, each language translation progress. And that is done again by WebLite, which is a great software. If you are doing open source, take a look at it. They got a website explaining how to install, configure. It's fully open source. You can self-host it, connect it to your repos, creating the PRs and so on. That's really cool stuff. And again, kudos to our community that is bigger and wider than before, to help us to get those new language to be done, and improving the translation of XO6 and XO Lites, which are the future of the web UI. So that's a wrap. I know it's been a long time. There's so many things to tell. So I hope that you are happy with this release, that you enjoy these announcements. If you have anything, any reaction, tell us into the comments. If you're watching that on YouTube, if you're listening, on the podcast, I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great day, and see you next month for the release of April. Bye bye, and thank you.